Welcome on in. My name is PJ. This is a raid challenge video. In today's video, we're going to be going over the two new champions that are getting buffed this month. First up, we got Togron the Conjoined, and I'm really liking his buff from what I've seen so far. Let's get right into it. But what I've seen, well, first of all, the yellow on the right hand side is going to be what is getting changed. The left hand side was before, as you can see here, before, after, and then the yellow is, or the highlighted, is going to be what is getting changed. So before, we had an attacks one enemy has a 20% chance of applying a debuff spread effect, taking one random buff from each ally, placing it on all allies. And what is it changing to? Attacks one enemy has a 70, so going from 20 to 70% chance of applying a buff spread, taking one random buff from each ally, placing it on all allies. So 20% to 70%, huge upgrade. What was that, 50% upgrade? And this could get booked to even higher. I'm not sure what the books are for him on the A1, but this could book to maybe even a higher percent, maybe 100% chance. But just off the rip, 20 to 70 is ginormous. Love seeing that. Way better. A2, so what we got here? So before, we got heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP, places increased speed buff on allies for 2 turns, also places a 15% continuous heal buff for 2 turns on all allies whose current HP is below 50% of the initial heal, after the initial heal. So not very good. The continuous heal is kind of, what's the right word? I forgot what the right word is, but definitely not that good, relying on your heal not giving you that much HP, or not giving you that much healing to get the continuous heal. So what is changing? Heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP, so that's staying the same. Places increased speed buff on allies for 2 turns, that's staying the same. This is what's changing. Also places a 15% continuous heal and a block debuffs on allies for 2 turns. So this is way better. Hold up guys, now is the perfect time to click on my link in the description and get a free Karato as well as 4 more insane free epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Step 1, log out a player and play on PC and uninstall. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch raid and complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to the inbox and claim your first champion. Don't miss out on your chance to get a free Karato after signing up, as well as Uugo, Rector Drath, Tagoar, and Mausoleum Mage as you progress through the game. So click on my link right now and let's crush this together. Now you're guaranteed the continuous heal and you're also getting a block debuffs. So you're going from having 1 buff, maybe 2 depending on how much healing you got, to guaranteed 3. So to me, this is starting to scream protection, and we can come down here and see a little bit more, but he's going to be having potentially 4 buffs on you, which is massive damage boost there if you have them in protection, 9-piece protection specifically. So this is a lot better, making the continuous heal guaranteed and adding the block debuff is going to protect you from those decreased attack, the decreased defense, any type of debuff that's trying to get onto you, provoke, stuff like that. No go, not today, getting blocked. So this is a lot better. And then we got the A3, increase the turn meter of all allies by 20% and places a 50% increased accuracy buff on all allies, then removes all debuffs from all allies. So the way this reads is you're getting the cleanse after you're doing the increased accuracy and the turn meter fill, which can be kind of not ideal. And you can see here that it actually gets flipped. So why is that? So we can read the after. So that was before, removes it after. Now we have removes all debuffs from all allies, increase the turn meter of all allies by 20%, plus an additional 2% for each debuff removed, then places increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns. So why does this matter when he cleanses? Well, actually it matters quite a bit, because let's say you have block buffs on your champions, right? So let's say you don't have the block debuffs up and they have block buffs on, your champions have block buffs on. If before he would put the increased accuracy up, you wouldn't get it because they have block buffs, and then he would cleanse the block buffs after. Now he's gonna cleanse the block buffs first, and then you can get the increased accuracy up after, which is gonna be way better, way more consistent to actually get this to work. And then they're actually additionally giving you more additional percentage of turn meter depending on how many debuffs you removed, which is pretty nice. So depending on where you're using this can stack up 2-3 debuffs on each person depending on where you are. 5 champions, 15% turn meter. It can be pretty good. 10% more turn meter depending on, again, how many debuffs, where you're at. But don't sleep. I think this could be a very solid move. And then again, it goes well with the protection, increased accuracy with increased speed, with the continuous heals, with the block debuffs. Then also the buff spread, I think pairs really well. And then we got the passive. So this is going to be a little bit of a long one. So first, before, increases champions max HP by 10% every time they use an active skill, stacks up to 50%, resets each round. Also increases each ally's max HP by 5% every time they use an active skill, stacks up to 50%, resets each round, will not increase the max HP of bosses. Now we have after. So after, what we looking at? So after, increase allies damage dealt by 10% if they currently have less HP than their target. If an ally's HP is equal to or greater than their target's, increase their damage dealt by 20% instead. So we're getting more damage boosting, which again stacks really well with protection for even more boosting. And then we have increase this champion and each ally's max HP by 10% every time this champion uses an active skill, stacks up to 50%, resets each round. Also increases each ally's max HP by 5% every time they use an active skill, stacks up to 50%, resets each round, will not increase the max HP of bosses. So let's break this down a little bit. First part, depending, I wonder if this is, so dealt by 10% if they currently have less HP than their target. So I'm guessing this is off of not like total HP, but like it says current HP. So I wonder if you can abuse this in Hydra or Chimera, where or Clan Boss, if you hit it early in the week where it's full health, you'll get the 10%, but maybe if you hit it later in the week when it's already down past the 50%, will that count? Or I wonder, how is it like max HP, or is it says current HP? So that's very interesting. I wonder if you can kind of abuse the clan bosses and kind of wait till later in the week until things are hit down a little bit to get that bigger boost. This is another thing that I'm very interested in seeing how it works. Is this two different 50-50s, so you're going to be able to get 100%, or is this both like one total 50% and you're just stacking both to the 50? The way I read this is I think it's two different 50%, so I think you can get 100% more max HP, which would be insane. I don't know if that would be good. I mean, I know it'd be really good. I just don't know like if that's good for the game. I mean, I guess we'll find out. That's a lot of extra HP. But yeah, that's definitely going to be happening. That's definitely going to be something. I don't have this champion, but someone's going to have to test and see if this is 100% or just 50%, and they're just trying to get to the 50% faster. So not quite sure, but either way, I'm liking Togron a lot now. Hydra, Faction Wars, maybe Chimera, limited content, Doom Tower, Curse City, Siege maybe could be really nasty, especially if you can start stacking up your HP, getting a bunch of turn meter. I think he's a lot better now. People were using him before, honestly. Like, he wasn't definitely not the best champion, but I know people were using him for certain teams, certain content. So now I think he's gonna be a lot better. If you pull him now, I think you're gonna be pretty excited. It's not gonna be like, oh no, not this. You're gonna be like, oh, okay, this guy's actually pretty good now. So really liking him. 9-piece protection, if you have it, I think would be amazing on him. Good job, Polarium, on this one. Let's move on to the next one. The next champion that's getting a buff is Fjorad Wolfheart. Now, I say buff in quotations because from what I've seen and what I've read, not too big of a fan, but let's break it down for you. So this is going to be the first form. Before, attacks one enemy 2 times, each has a 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. If the target is not under a freeze debuff, will repeat the attack. And now we have after, attacks one enemy 2 times, each has a 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted if the target champion is from the Galen pack. If the target is not under freeze, debuff will repeat the attack 1. So off the rip, I don't really like this. I don't like how it's only good for if it's against Galen pack. So if we can take a quick look here at the Galen pack. And what is the Galen pack? There's Ogryn, Lizardmen, Skinwalkers, Orcs. It's not a bad faction or a bad group of factions. I mean, you have Mirrors in here, which is one of the strongest champions in the game. But this is a mythical. No other mythical is limited like this, where it's only good for certain champions. It should be for every champion. I feel like they're kind of getting the unities and mythicals mixed up. Like, I could understand it being a unity champion, where a unity is really good against certain regions or packs. But for mythical, I feel like it is very wrong. I don't like it at all. Because if you're not in the Galen pack, then this is no change. There's no difference in this move unless you're in the Galen pack, which is 4 out of the like what 11 or 12 almost factions in the game. I'm going to be saying this a lot because I feel like a lot of his buffs are just to the Galen pack, so I'm sorry if I repeat myself a bunch, but yeah, I don't like this. I feel like they need more. Shouldn't just be limited to the Galen pack. It should be limited, or it should be to the whole champion pool. So not happy with that. I feel like that's an L buff. So we got the second part, A2. Attacks are, I'm not sure if this is A2 or A3, but whatever, this is the second part that's getting buffed. Attacks all enemies, places a freeze debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, and has a 30% decreased speed debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. If an enemy is from the Galen pack, places a freeze debuff for them for 2 turns instead. I guess he always had the Galen pack thing in his kit. I guess I didn't realize that. I guess I don't like that before, and I definitely don't like it after either. Again, he's like the only mythical that is specific to like certain, like good against certain packs or regions. I could be wrong, but I don't think any other mythical, at least right now in the game, is like that. Places a freeze debuff for them for 2 turns instead. So you just get pretty much 1 extra freeze instead of a 1 turn. You get a 2 turn freeze if they're a Galen pack, and then grants extra turn. What does it change to? Attacks all enemies, places a freeze debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, places a 30% decreased speed debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. If the enemy is from the Galen pack, places a freeze debuff for 2 turns instead, and this debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. So this is nice. This means it can go through block, I always get them mixed up, block buffs, block debuffs, whichever the one. It is block debuff. Yeah, block debuffs. So it can go through block debuffs. It cannot go through stone skin, and it means you don't need accuracy. So you don't need accuracy. It goes through block debuffs, but stone skin is still gonna block it, and stone skin is super prevalent these days, which kind of hurts him again. Also decreases the target's turn meter by 30% if the enemy is from the Galen pack, decreases their turn meter by 50% instead. So you're getting turn meter decrease, grants an extra turn as well. Turn meter decrease, and then you're getting even more turn meter decrease if they're Galen pack. Again, everyone nowadays is running Stone Skin, Lightning Cage, so you're going to have someone come in here and try to remove the Stone Skin before he does, or before he goes. And if you can't remove the Stone Skin, then he's not going to really do too much with this move. So yeah, I don't know, not too big of a fan. If they don't have Stone Skin, then this is really good. Can't be blocked, can't be resisted, so you need accuracy, which is nice, getting turn meter. The other thing they have to be careful about is Sheep. It's not necessarily as prevalent these days as it used to be, but sheep is definitely still a thing out, and it's still out there, and this dude's gonna be a sheep magnet, so be careful about that as well. And then we have the passive, it looks like. So before, whenever this champion receives a debuff from an enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a freeze debuff on that enemy for 1 turn, occurs once per turn. This chance increases to 100% if the target is from the Galen pack, and this is changing to whenever this champion or an ally receives a debuff from the enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a freeze debuff on them for 1 turn. This chance increases to 100%, and the debuff cannot be blocked or resisted if the target is from the Galen pack. So it's getting a little bit better. It's going from just him to him and your allies. So that makes a lot better of a chance of it actually proccing. I don't know, again, still doesn't seem too crazy. Kind of like a Tormund passive, it feels like. 100% chance if they're from Galen pack, but again, that's going to be super specific champions in Arena. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel that good. He's also getting a base stat change as well. You can see here his base stat is, at least I guess in this form, is going from 100 speed to 105, so that's pretty nice, a little bit faster. Overall, not too happy with his first form. I mean, it's definitely better on paper, but I just don't like the concept, again, of it being good against just Galen pack. I feel like it should be good against everyone. He's a mythical. So yeah, I don't know. Not too big of a fan. Let's go on to the second form here. And we got the A1, it looks like. Before attacks on enemy, if this attack kills an enemy, resets the cooldown of one of this champion's random skills. Alright, pretty basic. And then after, it says attacks on enemy will ignore 15% of the target's defense. If the target is under a freeze debuff, ignores 35% of the target's defense instead. If this attack kills an enemy, resets the cooldown of one of this champion's random skills. So it's better. I mean, you're getting ignore defense, which is nice. The other big issue, and we're going to see when it comes down to some of these other moves here, and I've seen some test server play, is that he doesn't, if you guys don't know, if a champion is frozen, they receive less damage, so it's harder to kill them. Some champions have it where they will ignore that, or they'll hit harder, or they'll hit just as hard even though they're frozen. I think maybe Carl has it. I forgot who, but there are some champions that have it. He does not, so he's not ignoring the freeze mitigation damage, and it's going to really hurt him. So yeah, he's going to be ignoring normal defense, but because they're going to be frozen, they're still going to be taking reduced damage. It's helpful, make him hit harder, but again, it's okay. I mean, more ignore defense is definitely good. And we got the A2 here. So this is before attacks on enemies. Place an extra hit on enemies under freeze, stun, fear, true fear, provoke, or petrification debuffs. Each hit decreases each target's max HP by 25% of the damage inflicted, stacks up to 50%. Each hit also decreases each target's turn meter by 25%. This effect cannot be resisted if enemies are under freeze, stun, fear, true fear, provoke, petrification debuffs. Okay, so it looks like the only difference here is damage multiplication increased. That's the only thing that's in yellow. I'm not going to read this all over again. I am pretty sure it's the same exact thing. Just quick look. Yeah. So from what I've seen, I saw a little bit of test server stuff. I watched Scratch do a test server showcase on him. He hit pretty much as hard as Magnar. Mythical, epic. And the mythical did maybe like 100,000 more total damage with this move. So yeah, and that was after the damage multiplier increased. Maybe they forgot to increase it. They need to increase it more. I don't know. Did not seem like it was hitting that hard. Again, the biggest issue is they're frozen, but they're getting the damage mitigation from being frozen. He needs a way to hit through that, and he just doesn't have that in his kit. And then we have the A3. Before attacks on enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense. If the target is under a freeze debuff, will ignore 100% of the target's defense instead. Sorry, if the target is under a freeze debuff, will ignore 100% of the target's defense instead. If not, they're ignoring 50%. And then if the target is killed while under freeze debuff, also places a block revive debuff on them. Alright, so what are we changing it to? Attacks on enemy will ignore 50% of the target's defense if the target is under a freeze debuff. And then we got will ignore 100% of the target's defense and block damage buff as well. So you're adding the block damage, which is nice. Block damage is definitely very viable right now. A lot of champions do block damage. Nias, Neve are a couple that come to my mind. Odin. So being able to ignore block damage is nice. The only kind of sticky part is this is just a single target. A lot of those champions are putting up block damage on the whole team. So you're going to only be able to hit one person. And then the other thing that they're doing is if the target is killed while under a freeze debuff, also places a block revive debuff on them. Okay, also places a freeze debuff on all enemies for one turn. Pretty nice. Again, you got to watch out for the sheepies. This is a sheep magnet. Lots of freezes. The freeze debuff cannot be blocked or resisted by enemies from the Galen pack. Damage multiplier also increased. Alright, so damage multiplier increased. Throwing out a AoE freeze for one turn. Can't be blocked or resisted if the Galen pack. I mean, it's good. Again, I just hate how it's just Galen pack. If you're not in Galen pack, then half of this just doesn't apply to you. It's good, it's getting better, but again, not a fan of just the overall Galen pack thing. And then we got the passive counterattacked with the Rhyme Cleave skill whenever an enemy increases the cooldown of any of these champion skills, which is the A1. I mean, it would be cool if you counterattacked with like the A3 or something, I don't know, counterattacking with the A1, like that's so basic. Again, this is a mythical. Doesn't seem like a mythical passive to me. So let's see what the after is. Let's see if they made it any better. Counterattacks with the Rhyme Cleave skill whenever an enemy increases the cooldown of any of this champion's skills. Then they change it to whenever an ally is killed, has a 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff on all enemies for one turn. This chance increases to 100% and cannot be blocked or resisted by enemies from the Galen pack. It's solid, helps you kind of control the team if you start losing control yourself. If one of your allies goes down, you can kind of slow them down by freezing them, kind of resettle your team, maybe get some revives off. Again, lots of sheep. Maybe make it so he can't be sheeped or something. I know Gallius, I think, has something like that where he can't be sheeped. Again, he's supposed to be like a Wolfheart, right? Would make perfect sense if the wolf couldn't be sheeped. Makes even more sense than the chicken not being able to be sheeped. And I think it's the chicken. I think Gallius can't be sheeped. So maybe they should have added something with that, because he right now is a sheep magnet. Lots of freezes, some other debuffs as well, which is not bad, but just in this meta, I don't see him being PvP. I just don't see him hitting hard enough for PvP, and he's, I think, ideally supposed to be a PvP champion. I don't really see him in PvE either, outside of maybe Faction Wars, limited content, but a lot of people are good in Faction Wars and limited content, so I'm not saying, like, that's not, like, too good of a praise. This is a mythical. He's supposed to be really, really good. So yeah, I think this one was kind of an L. Let me know what you guys think, if this was an L or not. I just want to check one thing. I think it's Yakarl. Increase the passive increases the damage the champion inflicts by 10% for each champion in the battle under freeze. Also increases the damage the champion receives. Will ignore 50% of target's defense. No, I don't think it's him. I think it's someone else. I'm not sure who it is. If you guys know, leave in the comments which champion ignores the freeze damage reduction. But yeah, again, let me know what you guys think. If you guys like these buffs, you guys do not like these buffs. I think Togron, W. I think Fjorad, kind of an L. Hit that like, hit that sub button, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.